Hello and welcome to my little cozy corner. I'm Ajoki. The evening was winding up and I wanted to do a loose sketching session. At first, I was doodling by myself, but then I started to pay attention to the flickering candle next to me. The shape of the candle looked interesting and focusing on the short moment suited the theme of slowing down. It is important to be able to sit down and doodle, which I do quite a lot. It doesn't have to be perfect and failure is allowed. I used a calligraphy marker given to me and I wanted to use it to be loose with the marks on the paper. Watching the candle and following its outline was relaxing. And watching the shape form on a paper looks interesting. It's important to be able to be in the moment. I mentioned in my last video called Tranquility how there is no rush and how the world around us can be busy in everyday life, so being able to have a little moment for yourself are important. A feeling of rush and there's no time can be easily created when you think all about the tasks and what needs to be done and what has been waiting to be done. But there's no time. But in actuality, there are these little pockets through the day when you can just be. 1 or 2 minutes is enough to be still in a moment and forget for a second what's going around. Being able to be still for a moment is refreshing. And being present in a moment while doing daily activities can be focusing on a meal, how you chop or still while cooking, cleaning, or while drawing. Stillness is an important skill that can be learned. And the reason why I like to work with watercolors is that you have to be patient with them. There can be no rush. What inspired me to talk about this topic happened one day. I was taking care of a grandpa cat while my family was away. I went there after work in a bit of a rush because I had list of chores waiting me at home. I took care of the cat's needs and noticed he was more social that day, so I listened at his mood and gave him lots of attention. After that, I had already put on my winter gear and I was going to leave when I turned to give some final scratches for the cat. He started to play biting my hand, so I stayed a little longer to play with him. While playing with him, I remembered that I was creating the illusion of rush when there was no rush. I embraced the moment of stillness while playing with the cat until he had enough. I left and started walking towards the bus stop and noticed how nice the day was. I saw the bus coming, but I decided to not run to the stop and walked home instead. The stillness and being aware of surroundings popped a bubble, and after doing these chores that my head was warped around, I realized there is still time to do something else before winding down for the evening. I think cats are great teachers at this. They are in no rush unless it is about food. They take their time and they teach. A burning candle is also a good example of stillness. It's warm, creates light and melts away slowly. I tested if the ink would spread on water because I wanted to do some details while using water and spreading ink. The ink didn't spread, but I gladly add some color with watercolors to the sketchbook. The sketchbook I used is from Dale Rowney and it's good for pencil sketches and ink. Because of the paper I used water sparingly. I have several sketchbooks with different paper qualities, but I like to add splash of watercolor regardless of the paper. A little pop was all I needed, so I studied loosely the colors and light source. I also paid attention where the candle had some texture. Of course, I could have made different color to contrast on the bottom where the light doesn't shine through. It's a bit darker orange. I have been burning and stirring this candle during the whole editing process. As the candle burns, so changes the reference too. It's always interesting to see how different candles each take different shapes when they melt. How the flame sculpts them kinda reminds me of humanity and different life situations. Sometimes the candle melts faster, sometimes slower. That's why I found the candle so interesting to study and ponder more about stillness. But what if there's too much stillness to the point of being bored? It's completely normal. My friend Jatte, whose channel I will link below, once said how it is a good sign to be bored because it is a healthy sign. Whenever I feel bored, I remember those words and appreciate the boredom as a feeling. Usually then every activity are like open door to engage with and see what flows that day. There can be days when nothing flows and it's okay too. It's important to listen to yourself. The past week for me had its ups and downs. A sprinkle of boredom one day, then winter blues hit like a truck and being more tired made some days more demanding. But something out came out of those things. I was thinking about what kind of painting I want to start working on next and if I make video out of the process. All my ideas were hibernating under the snow. But thinking about the fancy ideas made me appreciate more about simple approaches with this video I'm making. It's a sketch, I appreciate it, and that's all it's needed. And if someone finds my art or rambling something they enjoy or find helpful, I appreciate that too. And I would gladly hear your thoughts about the subjects I have been talking about. I was struggling a little bit with the water brush because the water didn't want to come out. Time to time I try to squeeze it to make the bristles more soft or mix some colors. I was considering of fetching some water to dip in but decided against it. There was a risk of overwatering the paper that way. Tasha came to hug me so you might hear her purring on the background. She loves to put her paws on my shoulder and just purr in my ear. Don't worry, she's getting good scratches. Maybe she just wants to see someone subscribing, leaving a comment or like on the video by doing the quality control. Back to the topic, I had one good waterbrush but I have no idea where it disappeared. I tend to carry waterbrush with me and the tiny palette I'm painting with when I go out. The reason I liked that waterbrush was the flow of water it had, and it was my very first waterbrush. I'm starting to add some background so the candle won't float in the paper. At first I was thinking about leaving a white wall behind the candle, but it needed some color. Yellow color complemented the background and the candle. I also love mixing in some muddled color from the palette. I also started adding final textures on the candle to make it more interesting. And for this note, I'm leaving you to enjoy rest of the video. Thank you for watching.